Hello, denizens of the universe. I'm the Romance Scrooge, and joining me today are
The artistic alpaca.
S on nobody.
Enlightened robot.
Dauntless.
Enlightened Robot and Dauntless, our special guests for today's episode. Robot has edited a couple of podcast episodes of Headcanon Hive in the past, and Dauntless is somebody that I've met through discussing some of Robot's other projects and such. Welcome to the show, Dauntless. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
We're going to be discussing the quote-unquote Calarts style.
The dreaded
And whether-
Calarts style.
Or more appropriately, is this title really appropriate for describing this? Is it really... I guess in regards to putting an image in somebody's mind or giving a general sketch of what this is, you have to use that particular term, but with how many different discussions or branches this discussion can go, there's so many different descriptions or examples of what it could possibly be. Like, personally, I've seen examples of, it's styles that sort of use Steven Universe as a base or draw a lot of inspiration from Steven Universe or just trends in general. Like, look at how similar the head shapes and such are for cartoons like Star versus Steven Universe, Gravity Falls.
Well, what as far as what the CalArt style people typically point to, round eyes, round head, donut smile. But I mean, I would say that that's also Powerpuff Girls style. That's any number of cartoons that came out before the 2000s. It's not necessarily a CalArts thing.
I guess this. I already kind of said this in the last podcast, but it's just a trend. It's how things just kind of sort of look now, and it's going to go away soon enough.
That's right. It mainly I would say that it mainly looks this way because it's easy to draw, and animators just don't get paid like they used to.
Yep.
Yeah, and also
There's more competition. There are other forms of art besides animation, and there's just more to spend your time on.
Also, with that particular style with the round faces and stuff, I'd like to point out for programs like Flash animation, it is much easier to deal with versus full body, anatomically correct stuff that we used to watch in the 90s. Because, especially with styles comparing it to Steven Universe, if you look like at the X-Men franchise and you watch any of the behind scenes for that animation, they talk about how difficult it was to work on a time limit and with the certain programs and resources that they had. And this round style is definitely more intuitive to do versus something like that.
It's easily more replicated rather than having to draw anatomically correct characters.
And it's easier to get people who can actually draw it if you need more animators as well.
I'm actually thinking it might not even just be Flash where it's easier, because I don't know, I can imagine just someone who's working digitally who has to even if they're doing the series frame by frame, like say they do an OKKO, which is completely hand drawn. It's colored digitally, but it's hand drawn on paper, and it's specifically Ian Jones Cordy specifically said that the show was meant to you're supposed to be constantly reminded that this is actual paper involved. And I'm just thinking the entire time that, wow, these characters are definitely much easier to draw multiple times over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
That said, how many of these cartoons actually are from CalArts?
Only about, from what I've seen, a lot of the artists who are from CalArts only make about 30 to 35%. I know. Well, let me double check my facts real quick about Rebecca Sugar because I'm pretty sure she went to Savannah College of Arts and Design, or at least her team did. What was it the other one? Rebecca Sugar's art school. Sorry, my. What is? Sorry, it's taking me a minute. The Art Center at Albert Einstein High Schools where she started. And then she went to attend the School of Visual Arts at SVA in New York. I was thinking about that one. SCAD's another one that a lot of people go to that do animation nowadays. It's not Calarts. That's the majority of the style. It's SVA and SCAD.
However, as somebody so thoughtfully pointed out, if you want to be a successful cartoon creator nowadays, just wear plaid.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Was Pat McHale a CalArts alumni?
I can't remember.
I'll do a quick look. Pat McHale. Pat Butch. Me too. I need to get that art book.
I'm just saying because somebody did a jokey redesign of Beatrice from Over the Garden Wall, and honestly, I kind of sort of thought that Over the Garden Wall was already considered part of the CalArts style cartoons, anyways.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, Patrick McHale graduated from the California Institute of the Arts. So
okay, so he's actually CalArts.
No, this post. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I will give them this: the art.
Andy's working with Del Toro to make a stop-motion adaptation of Pinocchio. Oh boy, nightmare fuel!
I can't wait.
I'm excited.
Okay, I'm not going to link to the post because I don't want to this person looks like an artist, and always support artists, and I'm just going to leave this person anonymous. But all this person did was brighten the colors up, extended the cheek so that it's Greg's face, like Greg has the CalArts face, and I don't know, and she put I don't know, she vectorized everything. It actually almost looks kind of like the style from, say, what's the name of that board game, Cranium? It kind of has a little bit of that added in, and it's actually just really confusing because the original show was also emblematic of the CalArts art style. I don't know. I'm just seeing it. It's right here on Tumblr, and yeah. It's like
Cranium.
Or what's called Teacher's Pet.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, that type of art style. And also, people are there's also redesign of Pacha from Disney, and people are aware that CalArts came out of Disney, right? And that a lot of people at Disney came out of CalArts, right? I don't know.
People just nitpicking to nitpick, basically.
Yeah.
It's an easy target, and it's got a roll off the tongue name.
Yeah, and apparently the term CalArts style, it originated with a D-bag of a man, John Kay. And it wasn't even used to refer to the style we're talking about right now. The term originated from John Kay's animation blog. Lord knows his opinion's worth anything. I'm sorry, I don't like John Kay. You guys can disagree, and actually I kind of would like to hear someone defend John Kay. But John Kay is so overrated.
Who's that?
The creator of Ren and Stimpy.
Ah.
I'm in the same camp as you. I agree. The guy, no. Scum.
Yeah, I can't deal with the Ren and Stimpy's art style, but that's literally because visually it. And that's my cell phone. Katie, can you pass my phone? I don't want to like try to get all up in your space. It's over there somewhere. I know it is. I heard it.
In regards to Ren and Stimpy, the creator, I'm not a big fan of him. I haven't really watched enough of Ren and Stimpy to comment on it, but I will not deny that that particular art style had a pretty profound impact in regards to independent animators. Hell, if you look at Ego Raptor stuff, a lot of the squash and stretch or exaggerated faces his characters have take some inspiration from John Kay. And there's inspiration in several other modern cartoons that take some notes or cues from him as well, or from that particular body of work. So in regards to his body of work, I'd actually be tempted to say if you're gonna draw OKKO stuff or even work with exaggerated facial expressions, it'd be worth taking a look at some of the stuff in Ren and Stimpy to get a feel for that exaggeration and how just even putting some of the even putting a pinch of the grotesque in there, because great thing to take cues or inspiration from. But this is the case where I really encourage people to divorce the art from the artist. If you enjoy Ren and Stimpy or that art style to any degree, just enjoy it for the art. The guy behind it, I can't condone anything about the movie. I just can't. That's my take on it personally. The entire unneeded 2 cents or 10 cents or whatever.
The guy's a creep, and I hate him. I don't know. I have a burning, passionate hate against him, and I don't know what else to say.
Did he kill a family member?
No, it's because. No, he didn't
I
go.
don't open that can of worms. I'll send links and stuff after this particular production's done, but not getting into that.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna go into like some of the more controversial things, but just reading his opinions in general has always turned me off from the guy. And it doesn't help that I'm not. Some people are gonna kill me for this, and I know that the style is in fact very popular, and I'm not gonna deny that. It's a popular art style that does have its place and its influence in history. With that said, I am not a huge fan of Ren and Stimpy.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. Ren and Stimpy and Cow and Chicken. I really I love that devil character. Who doesn't? But just in general, the humor was crass and it was very reliant on like gross out humor, and it just flat out wasn't always funny. Yeah, it definitely had a very special place in the 90s though.
Yeah.
It's one of those shows where it made the writers laugh more than the actual audience.
Yeah. I'm sure someone who's like a huge John Kay fan is probably going to crucify me over everything.
No. In fact, that's actually not an unpopular opinion. Lots of people liked watching Ren and Stimpy and Cow and Chicken now, but like when they were kids. But it's definitely one of those cartoons where you watch it again as an adult, and it does not come across the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hit the hammer on the nail. I was one of the kids that liked to watch Cow and Chicken every once in a while. I think I tried revisiting it as an adult, and very, very hit and miss.
I mean, on the other hand, it represented a part of culture that that was pushing boundaries. Because I'm not going to say that cartoons were never crass, because that's just not true. But there definitely came out a period where with very high censorship, and maybe not legal censorship, but social censorship. So they were very much like pushing boundaries and seeing how far they could go. I mean, Animaniacs did the same thing. There were so many sex jokes in Animaniacs, it's ridiculous.
I think.
No, fingerprints. I don't think so.
I don't know. I like the Animaniacs, and I kind of
No, I'm not saying that. I mean, Animaniacs, obviously, totally different style, totally different brand of humor. But they were doing they were kind of trying to do the same thing, right? They were both trying to push boundaries.
they did do a lot of really adult humor in that show.
And I think the difference between the two shows is, like, or at least the stuff like with Ren and Stimpy and Cow and Chicken versus Animaniacs, is the writing. Because with Animaniacs, they actually did go through a lot to make sure that the jokes would either fly over your head or so far under the table that you're not going to notice it. Whereas Ren and Stimpy were pretty much out there and didn't give a crap.
Yeah, they were like, it's like they were trying to nudge you into getting them taken off the air.
Like, please,
shock humor. It's shock humor versus something that's trying to be a bit wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and clever.
Mm-hmm.
Two very different ballparks.
No, I agree. And in fact, I even though I do think that they were doing the same, that they were going towards the same goal, Animaniacs and Cow and Chicken, Ren and Stimpy, I would put Ren and Stimpy and Cow and Chicken, frankly, more in the Grim Tales category. Grim Tales of Billy and Mandy was just like, thank God, there was so much like booger humor and vomit humor and
Wait, hold on. You're talking about the series,
The Great
right?
Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Yeah, there's a popular webcomic that's had that title and it was a little confusing. So yeah.
No, I'm definitely talking about the popular cartoon.
Yeah, the cartoon is okay. Just making sure, just clarifying, because it was a Billy and Mandy fan comic.
Let's not get into that. That's something I like to pretend doesn't exist. But that's
I don't even know about it.
Good. Don't look into this. Do not.
I don't plan on it. No, we're talking about cartoons, so I'm gonna keep on talking about cartoons.
Good. Okay, continue.
I feel kind of horrible because Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy was a childhood staple, though admittedly I can only watch certain episodes now.
Yeah. No, even when I loved well, not Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, but the cartoon that came before it, that Dr. Evil one. What was it called?
Oh,
Grim and Evil.
Grim and Evil. Grim and Evil was a way better version of that show, and it came before it. There was hardly any gross out humor, at least to my memory. Sorry if I'm wrong. But there was like way less, and the jokes were just sort of funnier in general. But then the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy came out to replace it, and it was just completely different. And I agree. I loved that show when I was a kid, some of it. But even when I was a kid, like there were so many episodes where I just could not watch it. As a 12-year-old. As a 12-year-old who like occasionally watched Ren and Stimpy, there were episodes that I couldn't stand.
Is it weird that me being the John K hater that I am, actually really love the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and I still watch it from time to time?
I mean, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy is really popular. It definitely has the same brand of humor, I think, as Ren and Stimpy because it's more gross out.
I think it might be because I think another thing is like the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Well, I mean and also Evil Con Carne. Those are dark from the get-go, and the art style is also less detailed. So I think I was able to handle it a little bit more.
I also feel like with the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, no one really watched it for Billy and Mandy. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
I watched it for Mandy. I don't really care about Billy.
Grim.
Mandy was pretty cool as a character. It was Mandy and Grim. They always had the best stories.
Yeah.
How about that episode with Voltaire?
Oh yeah.
I know that it's a given. I know that we are all thinking it, but someone had to say it.
The Eris stuff is really great too.
I don't know, for whatever reason, something I discovered because back when because they had the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy on Netflix a while back.
Okay.
And I would binge watch that show while I was working on school projects. Very specifically that show. Something I noticed is the Billy, for whatever reason, he was always at his best when he was away from Mandy and Grim.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like the best episodes, the episodes that I thought worked well for him are always the ones where he was just separated from them. So it was like there was that Lord of the Rings parody with the cookies. Is one of the episodes that come up to mind. There was that Voltaire episode.
Oh yeah, I remember that episode. The one with the Yogi Bear and Boo Boo cameo. Ha! I'm in a cave, and you bears can't come in caves because you bears are scared of caves. He's a right, Boo Boo. We bears are terribly scared of caves. Why are we so lame, Yogi?
Like,
You know, another one that I remember had great jokes, the Chupacabra one.
Oh yeah, I love that episode.
I also love that joke towards the end of the episode where Billy basically only joined this troupe to eat all the chocolate that they were selling, and then he became a chocolate boy himself. And he started eating himself, and the guy that was selling it was like, "All right, Billy, you've got 4 choices." And he like points out all 4 of them, and the last one is simply named Antidote.
oh no, I see a conspiracy brewing in the comments. There is a conspiracy brewing, guys.
What's that?
Will, what's called Will and Zebra are apparently planning something.
They're trying to
You know,
create
in
They try to overthrow us?
they're trying to create the perfect comment to derail the podcast. So the perfect way to foil that plan is to not derail.
Another thing that I really like about the newer art style, even if it's not like as detailed, is even if the main characters aren't detailed, if you've noticed the backgrounds of the shows are very gorgeous, especially in shows like Star vs. Gravity Falls and Steven Universe, and even Gumball.
Over the Garden Wall. They had Disney-level painterly backgrounds.
I love that.
And because of the way it makes it stand out, you can more easily see what's going on with the characters. And with the character designs, it makes it easier for kids. You know, the age range the series are aimed at usually. They can draw them. They can actually enjoy partaking in media and stuff. Like this isn't animation, but it's within the design concepts. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but with Five Nights at Freddy's sister location, my cousin, she is much more easily able to draw those particular character styles because they are more rounded and easier to deal with geometrically. And that's kind of the same thing with the newer art styles of like Steven Universe and Star Forces, is that it's easier for younger kids to draw, which is always nice to see because they can actually create stuff based around their favorite characters.
I agree with that because, you know, especially in this day and age, creating is paramount. We're coming up to a time and place where employment is probably going to be on the rise because the simpler jobs are just not going to be done by people.
Mm-hmm.
And that just leaves which is bad if your definition of work is something that you don't enjoy. But if your definition of work is providing something to other people, something that the community can enjoy, then everyone benefits. We have our cell phones are equipped to make music, to make art, to make pretty much anything. You can download a free program right now and learn to code. You can download an app and learn other languages. And we have more leisure than ever, so to be able to do that. It's really an amazing time if we take advantage of it, and especially teaching kids to be to really grow into themselves, and encouraging kids to draw their favorite characters and partake. I feel like that's awesome. That's why I like Phineas and Ferb so much.
Yeah, like I actually go to conventions and I get to go to them for free because I have a workshop called Fan Art in the Classroom, where I talk about how media can actually be implemented in the classroom. And originally it was my mom's thing, but I've kind of taken over the panel since she can't go. And I've been doing a lot of research on it. And it has been proven that if you use something that the kids love, not only do they pay attention more in class, but their test scores, even on like standardized tests, they rise by a good 70% if you're using stuff they're familiar with. Like, originality is great. Yes, encourage that. But that doesn't mean you can't use stuff based around fan stuff. Like, there was a geology class that we talk about in our workshop, where the teacher gave everyone a rock, a gemstone. It had the properties, scientific and values, like magical aspects, and you had to create and design a character around it. There's a teacher who used Minecraft to improve his test scores, and they went up from being in the lowest percentile to the second highest because he implemented Minecraft. And I'm also working with my brother, and we run a small convention called OmniCon now, and the community, like, everyone was like, hey, thanks for doing this. This is something that we need more for both adults and kids, because we tend to forget that, you know, coming out and being creative and having fun is needed nowadays, especially with all the stress and tension. What? Sorry, my tangents are bad.
That was a good tangent.
But it's just like, we need to stop limiting what we can do. Like, yeah, sure, you can't be stuck on fan art, but you can always use it as inspiration. And Rebecca Sugar constantly talks about her inspirations for her show, like Revolutionary Girl Utena, Sailor Moon, anime tropes. You can find them everywhere in her show, and her transporters that they have for the gems are based on Star Trek transporters. They even use the same sound effect on a different pitch level.
You know what? I didn't realize that until you just said it, and now I see the similarity.
Oh.
I notice small stuff.
Now I realize.
Well, Gravity Falls had like Donnie Darko references with Robbie's skeleton shirt, and Mad Max references as well, and Weird Mageddon. And it's just like, those are good examples of like how inspiration can be used as a fan nod. And we kind of limit ourselves by saying, oh, we have to be 100% original. It's just like, oh, Del Toro's newest movie, Shape of Water, is literally most of it mirrors Abe Sapien's backstory from Hellboy.
I think that ties into our topic with the Calarts style. Just because you know, there are so many people who are upset just because there's a new Thundercats cartoon coming out. They aren't going to be happy with the Thundercats cartoon. No, they aren't going to be happy no matter what. Mm-hmm. They would make the same complaints, or maybe different complaints, but just but maybe different complaints, but just as emphatically, if it were as close to or the same as the original style with all the anatomic and anatomically correct parts. There were people who were complaining about the new Mad Max Fury Road. They were complaining about not because of the female protagonist, but because it was a new Mad Max movie, and people don't like that.
Yep.
You know?
And like with Thundercats, we actually had a wonderful reboot back in 2011 that was well loved, but because it didn't get the views, Cartoon Network canceled it. So these people who would have been aware and are so-called fans would have known about that, and if they didn't watch it, they really don't have a right to complain about the new stuff. Right. It's not here for us. It's here for a new generation to get them into it, much like how Transformers, when that first movie came out, got a lot of us back into that particular franchise. Or how this new Power Rangers movie that came out recently got a lot of fans back into the show. It's not always for us, and we need to realize that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really important skill. You know, there are so many people who are just, I guess, they're so buzzword happy. I mean, there are so many people who put down other people's stories just because it doesn't match their own. I'm going to tangent into actual cartoons, but a good example is, and I'm sure everyone's experienced this. A girl shares a story about how her father was misogynistic because he wanted a boy instead of a girl. And there were like 5, which is more than there should be. 5 replies from 5 comments from dads who were just ready to jump in and say, but no, not all men are like that. I love my daughter. And that's not the point, right? But everyone wants every message to connect to them. My favorite thing that Rick and Morty did, the creators of Rick and Morty. There were so many people coming out against Rick and Morty, and again, buzzword happy, just wanting to put it down for this or that. And some of them might be really fair, especially given how often Rick and Morty how often they sort of jump towards very delicate themes. And the creator's response was, "You don't like it? Then this cartoon isn't for you," which is a fantastic response.
Mm-hmm.
Trying, I don't know. I heard somewhere like that trying to impress everybody is just going to wind up with like a super mediocre product.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to say anything, you're going to have some people who, if you're going to say anything worthwhile, then you're going to have people who disagree with you. That's just how it is. If you say something and no one disagrees with you, then you're not really saying anything worthwhile. You're saying something that everyone knows already. So what's the point in saying it?
Yeah, that's why with like some artists on YouTube that I adore, one of them is Holly Brown, and I love her because she does get so much pushback, because a lot of the time she's actually starting a conversation, and the responses you find to her video, whether it's agreeing or disagreeing, are great. And then you have other content creators, like I love Bailey J. I love her a lot, but I don't see much pushback with her. And the one time I did, she like immediately recoiled and deleted the video. And I was very sad, because I'm like, hey, no, this was actually an interesting topic, even if there are some things I don't agree with in it, because it was starting that conversation that needed to be started. Now,
Yeah.
Of course, there's a difference between just being hateful and trying to start a conversation, obviously.
Of course.
But in cases like Holly Brown and like that particular video, is like you said, it was basically, if you don't like this, that's great, but this conversation needs to be started, whether you agree with me or not.
And it's not even a matter of whether other people agree with other people. Sometimes it's just not for you. Sometimes you don't. There's a conversation that you just don't need to be a part of, and I don't think that's revolutionary. Whenever anyone comes up to me with a violent, immediate reaction to something else, my first tendency in general is just to say, especially if it's someone who's miles away, why does this matter to you? We're conditioned by we're conditioned by the internet, essentially. You get more responses if you act angrier. You get more followers if you put down other people. That's just how it works. Everyone has a stage, and the more extreme you act, the more you're going to be rewarded for it. And yeah, one byproduct is that everyone feels that they need to have an opinion at all times, but sometimes something just isn't for you.
Yep.
What are you thinking of?
Who are you talking to?
Oh, I heard someone laugh.
Oh.
No, I'm just shit posting in the comments.
Oh my gosh. Robot.
I'm sorry.
Don't provoke them.
Yeah, really. That's why I'm not even looking at the comments unless I think I absolutely have to.
I don't even know how to look at the comments.
You have to go to the live video, mute the video, and just pray. Pray. Yeah, it's this type of stuff is important. You can't have complacency, especially in the art world. There needs to be some talk, and then if a particular subject isn't for you, that's fine.
Yeah,
Don't be a part of everything.
Need to be able. And there's so many people who just think that if they don't agree with it, then it's wrong. But that's where opinions come in. And even terrible things, even awful things, can be enjoyed by people who need to hear it. Rick and Morty is a great example because they cover the topic of rape so often, but it's never a joke. Whenever so whenever one character attacks another character, which has actually happened a couple of times, it's always treated with 100% seriousness.
Yep.
And that's something that maybe some people just don't want to see, but it might actually be really helpful for other people to see it, just to see that, you know, they're not alone.
It's like freaking in one of the newer Steven Universe episodes, I think it was Jungle Moon, they showed Stevani with facial hair, and I was like, because that's the type of stuff that happens to me, and it's like a good representation, even if you yourself don't like it. Like,
I like 70 with my facial hair. I mean, I
and
wish
then
I could like
you also enjoy something and not enjoy parts of something as well, which is something I think people forget. You can enjoy something and still be critical of it, but you don't have to be a jerk.
Yeah.
Like,
and you don't have to attack the creators.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, small time creators are just so vulnerable compared to big time ones. You know, there are so many Avengers movies that I can't stand. I stopped watching like half the series. I saw the most recent ones, but I just you know, if I have a lot of opinions on it. I feel like it's bland. I feel like it's all for the spectacle. I feel like the characters are blah 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 blah. I'm not gonna go into it. But I just stopped watching, and most people who don't like the Avengers just don't watch it. No one gets on the case of the creators and tries to boycott the Avengers. That doesn't happen. It's much easier to boycott shows like Steven Universe.
Yeah, because of the level.
They're just an easier target.
Yep.
Boycotting is even really possible in this day and age.
Well, animation is also easier to target than live action because animation is still treated as
lesser.
As lesser when it comes to entertainment, even though there's a lot of animated movies that I would put like ahead in a list of greatest films of all time.
And not just lesser, but I mean also it's more work. Animation in general is just it's just harder.
Yeah, it takes about a year and a half at minimum for one episode of a show. Meanwhile, a live action show, they could do it within a few months. Have it shot.
And don't get me wrong, you know, there are a lot of movies that are mostly animation these days anyway. But I mean, even those are by even the artists who do the CGI in live action films. They're mostly underpaid.
Yeah, that's that. And then when that comes out, oh sure, there might be a slight outrage for a little bit, but then people are like, who cares?
Well, that's just how the world works. Every movie that you've ever seen with CGI has had underpaid artists. There's it's a legitimate problem. Studios are closing because they aren't making enough money from films, even though CGI is in high demand.
I mean, I treat animated films and stuff to such a high standard than live action that when people talk about it's like, oh, this one actor and this one actor from this live action show, it's like, oh yeah, they've got this. I'm just like, who are they? And it's because I don't recognize live action actors. I recognize voice actors.
Right.
I recognize studios and artists.
Right. Well, I mean, even consider Frozen. There was that one scene with her hair, and I know there's no way that anyone. There was a scene in Frozen where the hair ponytail went right through her shoulder, and everyone just zoomed in on it, focused on it. No one would let it go.
Pardon the pun.
Podcast over. You said the title of the film. Yeah, but yeah, that also happens a lot in video games too, though, with like Breath of the Wild. There's a scene where Sidon's legs are really not placed properly, and it's obvious to see what's going on. And same thing with his hands in that particular scene. And everyone started complaining about that. It's like people complaining about like inconsistencies in Steven Universe. Like, yeah, that's frustrating, but you have to be aware of the time constraints that these animators are under as well.
Right.
Because you have deadlines and stuff. So sometimes you're not going to get the best things out of them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Because
dear
you
lord.
want it out faster versus with quality.
Yeah, I'm okay. Okay, so I guess this is where like personal experience can come in. Okay, so first off, I'm not like a big time animator on anything. Um, I am technically professional right now, but like by the barest minimum definition of that. Um, yeah. Some of these guys know what I'm talking about. I recently became an animator for Psych2Go. I have 2 videos up on their channel right now. I just recently did a third rough draft for a video whose title I'm a little bit worried about revealing, but I can at least tell you that I'm working on a Psych2Go video right now. And at the end of you get 2 weeks to make the video. And you're supposed to turn in a rough draft of the animation. On sometime over the weekend after your first week. In my specific case, I recently just had to turn in what was basically an incomplete video to them, and you know they're usually perfectly fine with if say like the your ending screen is empty or anything, but no, there were like straight up entire scenes missing in this particular video, which is only a 4-minute video.
That wasn't
And
really
it
your
just
fault though. You lost some work.
Yeah, well, yeah, I lost some work, and it's also, uh, I animating takes forever, and things happen, and After Effects force quits on you, and Photoshop doesn't save, and sometimes you find yourself drawing on the wrong frickin' layer. Oh, I hate that.
That's the worst, though. I
Yeah.
say I actually ended up doing that just now.
So yeah, I'm what's called. They did compliment me on the animation I did actually do, and I'm personally pretty proud of it. There's a jokey Infinity War reference in it that I'm not sure if they caught or not, but it was probably very obvious that they caught it, and they probably didn't care because it's actually pretty funny. But I don't know. But yeah, um, yeah, they credit me by my real name, Christian Verzosa. Yeah, by the way, my real name is out in the world now, so don't worry about it. If you see Psych2Go by any chance, just look for I did one on abuse, which I don't recommend because that's a very triggering video.
Oh, I watched that channel actually.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Oh, yeah, I did the one on abuse, and I also did the one on what was the other video I did? It was it's called Signs of Anxiety. Um, and I'm personally really proud of that video, actually, and I'd recommend everyone go on it. It's also apparently anxiety-inducing, and that's something I'm working on. My video on anxiety induces anxiety, but for the most part, I'm actually still really proud of that video. And I'm just like going to tone down some of the I guess my Tim Burton influence is probably the best way of putting it. I'm not like super into like Tim Burton or anything, but he definitely influenced the way I draw. So I'm trying to tone that down just a bit. But yeah, tangent.
Yeah, animation is hard. Jimmy Neutron had some adventures, and I think anyone on the Jimmy Neutron crew can attest that animation is hard.
Especially since that was like one of the first CGI shows on air.
Yeah, and they were not. They routinely had the office lose power because they couldn't pay the electric bills. It's every episode that came out on time and complete was a miracle.
I think Crash Bandicoot with its animation and its cells had similar issues to where it would get so hot in the studio and the computers would get so overloaded that they would have to have fans in the office aimed at their computers and their towers and stuff. Just an interesting fact.
Well, considered, that's making me want to look up stuff about Reboot. That came out very early 90s, so long before Jimmy Neutron. Imagine what kinds of hurdles those guys had to overcome with their CGI.
Apparently,
Reboot, the original Reboot came out around the same time as Transformers Beast Wars. And those two, the CGI, it didn't really age well, but at least with Transformers Beast Wars, there's the excuse of, oh, well, they're robots, so of course it's uncanny.
Well, I tell you what, when it's good, it's good. You know, no matter what the product, as long as you complete something, that's all that matters. I mean, you know, Jimmy Neutron had some really crappy animation. It was really good for the time, but it was some really crappy animation. And even by animation standards, I mean, there were whole scenes missing. There were, you know, people's hands would go through other people's bodies, but the jokes were good. I mean, we don't look back on Jimmy Neutron the same way we look back on Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah. Well, as what was him? Shigeru Miyamoto once said, a delayed game becomes good eventually. A rushed game is bad forever.
Yep.
Another thing about Jimmy Neutron, at least with the movie, I'm not sure if it's the same for the series, but it was also like the first CGI animated movie to be made using complete off-the-shelf software. As in something that absolutely anybody could buy.
Wow, I had no idea. Go Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah.
Which makes sense given their budget. But good job.
Yeah. In some ways, I kind of miss that show, but I dare not look it up, considering what it has become, considering what the internet has turned it into.
What show are you talking about? What they're referencing in the comments section, or
Jimmy Neutron?
Oh, the only thing I can think of in regards to what weird permutations the internet has done with it, it'd be Seinfeld's Spit Stains viral video. Jimmy Neutron Happy Family Hour.
Yeah, basically, Jimmy Neutron Happy Family Hour, or whatever that was. It spawned a few imitators, more than a few imitators.
Seinfeld's Spit Stain is a trip in and of itself. Just that guy's content. You wonder, who is the person behind this? How did they come up with these bizarre ideas? Like, it's... When you look at the animation at face value, it's kind of clunky looking. It looks like it was put together by an amateur or somebody starting out. And then you look at other videos, and it took some kind of planning. It took some kind of planning and mapping out to get the effects and setups that he does. It's this very weird, surreal trip. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy ended up working at Adult Swim. Like, if he showed him some of his videos, they would have snapped him up in an instant. That's what kind of neck of the woods his content is in. This person's stuff is hard to describe because okay, I'm gonna get off this particular tangent.
remember when Jimmy Neutron, Shrek, and Monsters Incorporated all appeared at the Oscars?
Oh yeah.
I don't remember that particular video. When I think of Seinfeld Spitstate, I'm thinking of the weird. Again, he's very hard to describe since one video is a CGI skeleton taking a flash animated character on a ride into outer space, and I'm gonna take you for a ride, playing in the background, and just other weird things like that. Some videos, it looked like they were starting to scrape at a philosophical or deeper concept, but then you stop yourself and thinking, this video is in the same realm as YouTube poop. It's a shit post. It's like it's in that neck of the woods. I can't think of any other way to really describe this. Just that it's fascinating. It's worth a trip if you like weird, obscure, ridiculous stuff like I do. Speaking of CGI animation and such, though, I kind of want to touch a little bit on Reboot. I didn't watch this particular series as a kid. My boyfriend is a lifelong fan of the series. What ended up getting me curious about it was a reboot on Netflix. No pun intended. This reboot, it was so bizarre since the original series is a CGI series about people living inside of a computer. But the series on Netflix is pretty much a watered down Power Rangers in cyberspace with a couple of throwbacks or love letters to the original series. It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre that this is what it turned into, that after 20 plus years of attempts on behalf of the crew working on it, to get to bring this back on the air or do something with it, this is what happened? This is what fans of the original series get? Just a really bad, cheap cash in?
It's even more strange because it's on Netflix, which normally they care.
Normally.
Oh, there's a block on Netflix. Just look at all the DreamWorks series they have on there. Penguins of Madagascar, or rather the Madagascar movies, have 2 or 3 spin-off series. It starts with Penguins, and then you have The Rise of King Julian, which has 7 freaking seasons. 7! On Netflix.
7?
Yes,
7?
7 seasons. And then there's not just that, there's also that Spirit Riding Free, which is very loosely related to the Spirit movies. I'm not going to say that's a bad series. It's just a testament to how, yeah, it really depends on what you're talking about. My buddies would show me I have a couple of buddies that like to do riff track kind of stuff. Like they look up the weirdest, most ridiculous stuff they can find. They have showed me the bowels of Netflix and just, Netflix has some crap. It really does.
I had a friend who had a really passionate hate of the Spirit series because she really liked the movie.
Oh man, she's a horse girl, huh?
Oh yeah, she always was.
In regards to the Spirit series, I haven't seen the movie, but even that, it's only very loosely tied to the movie. I'd say just divorce it from the movie altogether. It's an okay series, it's innocent enough.
It's there. That's all we need to know.
Pretty much.
It exists, and that's fine.
I mean, the only Netflix DreamWorks series I'd recommend would be the Dragon series.
And that's because the original writer of the original book still has her fingers in it. At least to my knowledge, she does.
Seems to be credited with each episode.
Yeah, then she probably is.
That's pretty amazing that she stuck with it all that time.
Well, it's because she kind of looked back in one of her interviews. She said she looked back at the Granson household and how The Grinch Stole Christmas, the live action one, she's like, that one, even though it did have its moments that she didn't appreciate, it was very true to the original spirit of the book and even the cartoon. And it was because Dr. Seuss's wife and I think it was his son or daughter, I can't remember, one of his kids was there at their backs with a gun saying, fuck this up and we're done. But then they didn't have any involvement whatsoever with Cat in the Hat, and we all saw how that turned out. So it was probably that reason that she stuck with it. Which, to be honest, was a smart move. Because I know that after this new movie that's coming out, she says she has said that there isn't going the trilogy's over basically because she did her rewrite in the way that she wanted to, and she's happy with the outcome. Because she ended the book series a couple of years ago already.
Huh.
I just came back and I don't know what's going on.
You should stop doing that. Shame on you.
Here and I'm floating in my tin can.
So what's the next topic?
Just kind of going with whatever. Looked at some of the comments over here.
This
when
is
I brought up the reboot the Guardian Code, I was using Power Rangers as a very loose comparison.
It's
I wasn't trying to be down on Power Rangers. Don't get me wrong. That there's heart and soul behind that. I'm just saying that the basic concept, or kids in latex outfits fighting monsters, just it's a take on that particular genre, story thread, whatever. That's the best thing I could think of as a point of comparison. It just seems like such a weird departure, the Guardian Code that is, since the original series, again, it's a CGI series about people living in a computer. It started out as a basic Saturday morning cartoon where you have Bob the Guardian facing off against Megabyte and Hexadecimal and then trying to take over the city and other Saturday morning cartoon villain stuff. But as the series progressed, like once you get to season 2, it really picks up. Like there's several episodes where Bob, the lead character, disappears for a while. Most series don't have the balls to do that. Like if something happens to the lead and they disappear or bow out, they come back in a couple of episodes. No, Bob's gone for close to an entire freaking season. And this was this was the late 90s show. I was floored by several things that they had happen there. And a bit later in the series, they have something happen to the kid character Enzo. Something pretty freaking traumatic. And just, he ends the series. I don't really want to give too many spoilers since this is a series, if you can get past the rough animation and such, and how kind of shaky the first season is, it is very, very much worth a watch. It is a very solid series. The only thing I'd say with going back and watching through it is avoid the second TV movie like the plague. The ending sucks. It's a blow. If you watch all the way through this series and you get to that ending, it's just like, what the hell? Why? And then after watching through this and knowing that the Guardian Code exists, the fact that it's kind of a... I originally watched through this series because I was really curious as to what it would be like going from this series to the other one. I don't think I can do it, man. It'd be just... I'm one of those kinds of people that the best way to get me to sit down and watch something or check it out is say that this has a crappy reboot, or look at this crappy reboot, look at this crappy thing. I want to play compare and contrast between the original and the one of those people.
I mean, that's the best type of people to be, though.
Heck, when Gamer from Mars came out with this video about George's Jungle Season 2, it's a cartoon Flash animated series and stuff. Some of the bizarre stuff he mentioned in it I watched a couple of episodes of that because I was morbidly curious, and I regret it. But someday I know I'm gonna go back and watch the rest of it because I want to see how far that rabbit hole goes. Like,
What happened?
Okay, I'm not gonna touch on this too much, but it's pretty much. You know how some people on DeviantArt are fascinated by Boar?
Yeah.
There's several episodes in this cartoon where you pretty much have on-screen Boar, and I'm wondering how the hell did this get greenlit? This is such a major deviation from what the first season of the series is. I mean, it's your run-of-the-mill Teletoon cartoon. It's it was just a bland average time slot filler cartoon. That's how it started out, and then the weirder thing is, the first season of the show premiered in 2007, back when Cartoon Network was looking for things to throw into time slots and stuff like that, just to flesh out time slots. And then the second season comes out 10 years later in 2016. And they made some pretty major overhauls. It's like you're watching a completely different show. it's a trip. Just
I actually saw that gamer from Mars video. It's. I mean, I'm just recalling it. All of the things, all of the bug death. That's something that happened in the video, right?
the episode that Gamer from Mars specifically references and talks about is called The Flavor of Science. Flavor is spelled Flavor. I watched that episode and just he hits the nail on the head when he describes just what makes it so, like, yeah, the sentient species of bugs. And okay, I'm not going to discuss this any further because yeah, already brought up the B word that. Okay, I'm very sorry if I noticed that things went incredibly quiet as soon as I started going down this rabbit hole. Like,
I heard Vor and I literally just disassociated.
I'm so sorry. Again,
It's fun.
I might as well. It's just, speaking of reboots and stuff, it's so bizarre because you have really generic season of a cartoon and then second season released 10 years later, and who greenlit this? Who greenlit this?
Someone with a very specific fetish.
I mean, I'm trying to think if there's like any other like prominent examples of someone secretly bringing in their fetish into whatever show or movie they happen to write. I mean, in movies this is common. I
Totally Spies.
Oh yeah.
Totally Spies. Yeah, definitely.
Then there's the Nickelodeon live action shows.
Oh yeah,
developed by a certain person.
I joke and say Animorphs.
Listen, I don't care what. Don't let anyone tell you can't fit your kink into your creation. You totally can. In fact, I would say it is the best motivator.
Oh man, don't go look at my Eldritch stuff. My
stuff
is just all on the table.
I am 100% convinced that someone on the Tangled team had a very strong foot fetish, because if you want to like do a drinking game when you're watching Tangled the movie, and take a shot every time there is a foot focus scene, you'd probably die.
Well, I mean, duh. How else are you gonna get good at drawing feet?
I mean, hell, they even had an episode in the TV series, or there was a moment where Rapunzel was told to put on shoes, and she was just like, "How do people even walk around with these?"
Oh, I can relate to that. I hate shoes, but yeah, there's
like she's the princess of an entire country, and yet nobody bats an eye that she's barefoot all the time.
It's quirky.
It's quirky.
But I think Todd. I think Tangled is also, if there's something that can do it instantly, it's Tangled. What, we don't want to keep talking about fetishes in cartoons?
No, I'm very sorry I went down that route. I think part of me just really wants to discuss this with somebody and say, this exists and I want somebody to share in my pain.
Really, Scrooge, I'm on Discord. Like, we've talked about some weird shit, my dude.
I mean, hell, you could just look at the 90s action shows involving animals. Like, all the male characters look different, but then all the female characters just look like women with maybe an animal-like nose.
Oh, well, okay, so one guy who I'm actually going to defend here, there's an OKKO character designer / animator who apparently draws a lot of really buff male furries. Really
And
good.
Can you blame him?
No, I can't. I honestly, this guy, he's living the dream. He is working on a show. He is probably the guy behind Enid's dad.
Yeah, I'm thinking that might
yes.
be the same person.
Oh my god. Why am I being called out like this?
No, this guy is living the dream, and I feel happy for him. I feel happy that he is working on OKKO, and he is introducing furries to a brand new generation.
Just for the record,
I mean, to be fair, Thundercat started it.
To be fair, I don't care if this guy posts a bunch of buff furries and stuff. Quite frankly, both episodes that had or tackled furries or even had furry characters in them, both were really well executed and entertaining. I like both of them, so I'd say, yeah, keep it up. It is not...
I don't know. I respect this guy, and I actually ended up. Turned out the guy had a Tumblr. I actually ended up following him. So
I mean, considering all the fan art of Bernard, I'm sure the people will do fine in thanking him.
I can't remember the artist's name. I'm sorry, Will.
Bernard is a fantastic character design. Heck, I don't know, the way OKKO is set up, you have anthropomorphic strawberries and food. Furry characters or anthropomorphic animal characters, they don't seem like too far of a deviation to me.
And it's one of those like that. It's like if anyone were to complain about the character design, it's like, really, you've got all these other things, and you complain about that.
Actually, I remember having a discussion about OKKO's art style, or more specifically, the templates for the female characters. I remember that being brought up a while back on a different podcast episode. I'm thinking about it, I remember seeing a post floating around saying all the female characters look the same, and some other comment about most of the females being big, buff, or kind of meaty. I disagree with that. There's a couple of female characters that are a bit more lean and lanky, like the Mummy Gal or Hollow Jane. Or even if you look at the difference between Red Action and Enid.
My whole thing with that is this.
Huh?
Sorry.
Here's a link to some of the concept art for Bernard.
I was gonna say with OKKO too, though, you would expect them to be like athletic or muscular as well. I mean, that's kind of what the show was about, my dudes.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just disagreeing with the idea that all the female characters look the same.
Yeah.
And frankly, if you narrow down, like if you say that all if you start a sentence with all characters look the same because they all have one of, and then you end that sentence with 3 body types, like you're already. It's one thing if they act. That's not them all looking the same. They clearly have a bunch of different body types.
Yeah, I can attest because whenever I do those rare moments when I do crowd shots for any of my Red Enid comics, I'll look up a whole bunch of various different background characters, and yeah, even all the female characters do have various designs. It's not just the one defining trait that a lot of people complain about.
Yeah, my personal favorite is that my personal favorite random background character from OKKO is that random angelic werewolf dude.
Oh, Enid's cousin?
Oh, is that Enid's cousin?
Yeah, hold on, I think
His name's Puck.
Puck? Does he have like a speaking role
Yep.
somewhere? Because I always remember him just from the background.
Puck Reverie. Yeah, his name's Puck.
Oh my god, I love that last name.
Yeah, his name's Puck Reverie. He's Enid's cousin, and he's also one of the people in the episode, the episode where Enid, KO, and Rad become were animals. Puck was one of the bouncers to the abandoned video store.
Yeah, that's the episode I was thinking of.
I'm kind of hoping there'll be an episode where Puck comes to the foreground. His
Yeah.
design just looks a lot more prominent or pronounced compared to the other background characters, and the fact that they went out of their way to say, "Oh, this is Enid's cousin," just
And according to his character bio, his best friend is like a one of those. Basically, his best friend is a magical girl who became punk.
I'm pretty sure a lot of the background characters are like the animated, because I know there was one artist who said my OC made it into OKKO. So I'm pretty sure a lot of the background characters are the animators' OCs, just all of them. And they do have the look of OCs. And that is not a bad thing. I adore OCs. I obviously have a lot of my own, but we can't deny the fact that there is definitely when people make OCs for their own specific type of universe, you tend to get very specific about certain things. I know, like, if I were to put a bunch of my OCs in the background shots, they would not look like background characters. So, I think for OKKO, I think that's actually a genius move because of the type of show and its setting and where it takes place. And that wolf guy, he looks very much like an OC character. Like, I can see someone with like a very specific, like, coming up with like some sort of very specific backstory to why he's a werewolf with angel wings and all that stuff. I don't know. I love it. I love it.
I mean, it would just be hilarious if they had the episode with him and Enid just doing something like some kind of action comedy, and then maybe throw Red in there.
buddy cop.
Like a heist movie or something.
Just kind of wondering how that dynamic might work, because when you look at what kind of character Enid is, she comes across, her general demeanor is sarcastic, kind of snarky, cool, laid back kind of character, and then Puck. This is really hypothetical. Like, I can imagine his character being your classic, kind of dramatic, angsty, really waxing philosophic teenager. He would have to have a. Actually, thinking about it, Red would be a perfect third wheel to a pair like that.
Plus, it'd be one step closer to Red meeting Enid's parents.
Oh, I'm sure the parents are going to be very accepting of Red.
I mean, considering they were more than likely with Elodie, since they spoke rather fondly of her.
Yeah, I think I think. I'm laughing more than I'm talking because the
Oh
concept
God,
is funny.
I can just imagine it now. As soon as Red walks through the door and they see Enid acting kind of awkward, I could see him picking up on the hints right away, and they'd immediately go up to her and be like, "Ooh, who's this? The new girlfriend?" Then pulling out the most embarrassing baby pictures or something they possibly could.
Or like they notice Enid, acting a little bit weird, and Red's in the area, and then as Enid's like, "We're just gonna hang out in my room," and like either Wilhelmina or Bernard just like, "All right, but just keep the door open."
Oh God, I'm sorry. I probably sounded like a dying goose for a second there.
Oh, screw that. Oh yeah, okay, oh, we'll play till the end. You are my best friend. Let's be heroes.
A lot of clicking and somebody shuffling around a bunch of stuff on the disc. More clicking. Insert the sound of silence joke nobody wanted to see return.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. It's for 10 seconds no longer. I'll get a copyright strike.
Cartoon Critic, you should watch it. It is a great show. Watch OKKO. It's really good.
What did I call Raymond? The off-brand Aldi version of Metaton?
Yes! I can totally see it. I think it's a shame that Raymond hasn't gotten his own episode or more definitive character development yet. Raymond deserves his own episode. I don't care what anyone says. Actually, I'd say all the bots need a little bit more character development, or I'd like to see a little bit more character for them, since of the bots, arguably the only one that's gotten any interesting character development is Daryl so far. You have a couple of interesting setups with Ernesto and Shannon, but it just hasn't really been followed up on.
What if every season just winds up ending with like a new bot taking over?
I'm like, okay, I'm done. Your turn.
They might go that route, but then again, you have too many bots versus how many seasons the show might get. To be honest, I see OKKO probably running for 3 seasons. Part of it kills part of me to say that, but yeah.
Probably.
Fear the
But
era of Jethro.
3 seasons. 3 seasons is a good run for a cartoon. That is what I always think.
I don't know. I might be wrong on this, but
I wouldn't be surprised if
OKKO already touching on some of the bigger plot points they introduced. I mean,
True.
they're coming back around with the follow-up on Enid and Elodie. Now, beyond that, the only other big plot thread I could see needing resolved would be mysterious shadowy figure. I think that's going to take a while to be built up to or resolved in any way, shape, form, or respect, though.
Yeah. I mean, like Steven Universe, that's like 5 seasons or so.
It's like
How many?
7, dude.
7 seasons. Oh yeah. Yeah. And they release all. It feels like they release all of the episodes for OKKO at once. For some reason, I'm pretty sure they're like doing it on like some sort of schedule, but I always get the impression, like, especially when compared to like say shows on Disney, there's like, what's a hiatus?
It's getting hard to keep up with the OKKO. Like, there's a big bunch of episodes that come out, and I see a clip for one floating around, and I'm like, oh, is this the newest one? And then 2 or 3 clips pop up the next day, and I gave up trying to keep tabs on when exactly new episodes come out. I just watch it when I can.
Yeah, sometimes I'll just watch multiple episodes in one sitting, just because of that. You have any hot takes on OKKO Dauntless?
Oh, I haven't watched it. I'm in that category.
Oh.
Same.
I mean, it's really good. I saw the pilot. I really, really like it. I just haven't got a chance. I watched Lupin the Third instead. The movie is on Netflix, so
Yeah, I've got it tagged on
really
my list.
It was really, really good. I liked it so much I watched it twice.
I need to watch that.
Dubbed or subbed? Like it's a show, dubbed or subbed. Because that usually dictates whether I'll watch an anime or not.
I mean, Lupin the Third it's anime, but it's more like a noir story. It's anime noir.
Well, yeah, I mean, I figured that. I mean,
Noir anime.
Noir anime.
Oh my god, you're out. I'm kicking you out. Puns are too much.
I may or may not check it out. If it turns out that there's no English options and I have to read subtitles.
No. It is English. It's
okay.
English dub.
Then I might actually watch it then. Because I can't go with subtitles. That's really bad for me. And I will fight PC the Unicorn on that.
I mean, it's whatever.
I'll watch subtitles to be spiteful.
It all depends on the quality of the voice work for me. Like, I couldn't watch the dub of Medical Magica, so I had to watch the sub. And then it also depends on what I watched first. For instance, even though, yes, there is a dub of My Hero Academia, I just watched the sub because that's what I watched first.
It's really hard to keep up. I don't know. For me, it's really hard to keep up, like, you know, with the all the action that's going on when it's not dubbed, because I'll be reading the bottom, and then I have to move my eyes to the top of the screen, and it turns out I missed something.
That's a pretty common problem. It's not unique to you, but
didn't think it was.
I'm a fast reader, so I don't really have that issue.
Yeah, same. Especially with a series with a lot of fast action, like Mob Psycho 100% or One Punch Man. Like, there's a lot of fast action, and if you blink, you'll miss it.
Also, like, with context as well, I find that, like, some things are better subbed than dubbed, but it really just depends.
Yeah,
These
I think in Lupin the Third
donuts
case,
are excellent.
I think in Lupin the Third's case, they did a really good job because they adapted a lot of the jokes to fit an American audience.
Ooh, nice. Glad they did.
But it is also kind of cool seeing because it's a static background with a moving cell, and you can see how they would have used the transparent paper how they would have animated you doing that. it's just a really old style of animation that's hand drawn, and especially in it's a movie that came out in 1969. So you can really see that good old 1960s, 1970s freehand kind of like how do I put this? It's kind of freehand style that's all over the place, and there's a lot of action, and it's just really really cool. No digital help.
Can't remember what show, but there was one anime that made a joke about the whole cell. You can tell what's going to be interacted with based on the coloring on a cell.
I remember when that was a big problem. I mean, I'm not sure if it's still as common in like anime. I remember that used to be a big problem with like with Western cartoons, where you could always see what part of the background they were going to interact with. Does that still happen in like anime or anything? Because I wouldn't know.
It's just an animation thing.
Yeah. Yeah, suspiciously light patch. And then I recall, oh dear, I remember Lilo and Stitch, the animated series. They figured out a way of getting around that. Instead of a told, which is move around the painted box like it's a flash object. And it's actually pretty jarring, but in the opposite direction. Because you're seeing the because yeah.
Speaking of dubs versus subs, there's one anime I can think of where you might actually the sub and dub are both pretty solid. The Devil is a part-timer.
There's only like one anime where I prefer the sub over the dub, and it's Alien 9. And I so badly want that to be remastered, because that dub, her voice was way too much. I understand that they're like elementary school kids, but they don't need to sound like a freaking kazoo.
Oh my gosh, I hate that so much. I agree with you 100%.
Like, yes, kids can sound like that, but please tone it down a little bit.
And that totally ruins any kind of. I mean, it's not anime isn't alone in that. Although anime is kind of
where it's more obvious,
where it's bad voice acting. But you see that in horror movies too. Sometimes cartoons. Just a really bad child's voice or a really bad woman's voice is just it's gonna kill it.
I recall Panty and Stalking having a superior dub. In my personal opinion, of course. But I really like the English voice acting in that one when that came out.
Like, I may not like the editing that they did to like Card Captors or Mew Mew Power, but I actually really like the voice actors that they chose for those dubs, because they didn't feel out of place for the most part, except for Mark's voice actor in Mew Mew Power, but everything else was like pretty good. And it, like, I may not like Navanya's dub of the editing of Card Captors, or like how 4Kids edited stuff, but usually their voice acting was pretty on point for a lot of their shows. which is neat.
It also just depends on the era in which it was dubbed in. Okay.
The kazoo comment earlier immediately made me think of Wander Over Yonder's intro. Now I start thinking, what is it with Craig McCracken shows and intros with kazoo music? Because Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends had kazoos in the intro as well.
Fun, quirky instrument. Actually, like I don't think the Powerpuff Girls had that. They had that they had the
No, they had a like a little piano for Bubbles when they introduced like when they had Bubbles fly by, but they didn't have a kazoo. No.
yeah, they
Oh, okay, yeah.
well now that I think of it, the music for Powerpuff Girls was really cool. Almost ahead of its time actually, because you know, Steven Universe has all of that really cool electronic stuttered drums and drums in their soundtrack. A lot of their soundtrack is borderline like electronica, drum and bass, that type of stuff. Powerpuff Girls did it way back in the day with that. I thought that was pretty. And I think I'm just realizing that now. The amount of there was actually an album of Powerpuff Girls music. It was like remixes of the background music with I hated the fact that they like edited vocals over it, like looping vocals that were just sampled from the show. So that means I can't sample them now.
See you, sir.
I mean, it would just be nice if Cartoon Network and all of them would release more background music available for purchase, because I can attest I will buy the background music for Ernesto, like his battle theme.
Hell yes.
Both both Brad Break and Brian H. Kim are pretty popular because of they've been releasing their music for Gravity Falls and Star vs. Forces of Evil and We Bare Bears up to the public.
I think Avi and Seshiru also released their stuff for Steven Universe.
That's true, they do. And Steven Universe is the only one that Steven Universe and Phineas and Ferb both ended up with albums released. You don't really see that with any other cartoons. Granted, I think Steven Universe and Phineas and Ferb, they actually had the justification of being musicals.
Well, that and like, I know with Phineas and Ferb, they had Bowling for Soup doing their stuff as well. So
yeah, they're not going to be pressing the Gravity Falls soundtrack to vinyl anytime soon. Even though I really like it. Actually, it's called also another person who I'd recommend, even though he's not technically the musical artist for the show, but he does do a lot of music. Louis Zong, who is a character artist for We Bare Bears, he has a presence on YouTube and Tumblr, and it is glorious. And he's really good. He's really good with both his music and his art, and he has that really cutesy millennial cartoon vibe that every other cartoon is trying to do now.
mm-hmm.
His videos on YouTube, every time he talks, he's basically the real life Pretty Patrick from Being Puppy Cat. I'm not kidding. Also, I'm completely stealing that line from Nobody because Nobody was the one who made that comparison. Sorry. Sue me for plagiarism.
Plagiarist.
Plage.
Yeah, and nobody, for the record, I'm fighting myself to not post that as a Tumblr post because my brother gave me crap about stealing one of his jokes for a Tumblr post.
It's such.
I repeat jokes a lot.
I mean, I tend to come up with some pretty zany one-liners. And I don't really care if anyone else quotes me because I don't remember them most of the time afterwards.
That didn't sound good.
I need to put some WD-40 on that chair. Every time he moves in that office chair, it squeaks. It drives me nuts. Drives me nuts. First world problem.
I just have to deal with a fat cat that wants food, even though he's already been fed.
I have to deal with a group of 3 puppies who only want to eat food if you happen to be eating it.
That's how they know it's safe.
Yeah, that's all. My dad has recently taken it upon himself to pretend to eat the dog food before he gives it to them because that's when they actually will eat it. But then they'll go to like when I'm eating at the table, they'll like just go up to me and they'll crawl up to me. They're like, "Can I have that? Can I have that? Can I have that?"
That's
Keep in mind,
dogs
this
in
is
general, robot.
this is 3 dogs, by the way, not just one. So you know.
Yup, got a couple of ornery pups at home that do that.
At least it's a lot better than the. At least it's a lot better than the youngest cat I have. I still call him a chicken thief because I walk away for just a little bit, and the next thing I know, he is trying to take my plate with fried chicken, and it slides off the table and falls right on the floor, along with all of my fries and other stuff. And so now, whenever I've got food and he's around, I'm just like, no, it's my food, you chicken thief.
That's okay. My cat Thor is he's just as bad because I was making a sandwich. I didn't even get to finish making my sandwich. I was there. I kept like pushing him down and stuff, and he eventually got up there and was quick enough and grabbed my entire fucking sandwich and ran off with it.
Thief.
It made me really sad.
Oh, and that same cat, that the chicken thief cat, also steals straws.
I hate that.
Like, no, it's my straw.
We also have a much bigger dog, bigger than the other 3. The 3 are like practically the 3. They're like miniatures. They're really tiny. Then we have like this huge brown lab, and we feed the puppies out of this small bowl, and they have a very specific type of food they're supposed to eat. And we have a bigger bowl for our big dog, and every time I have to feed them, they go to the wrong bowl. And like the big dog, his name is Brownie. He will like, if he gets to the bowl, he will just like stick his tongue out, and the entire thing is gone. Because it's such a tiny bowl, and it's not his food meant for him. And then the puppies, well, if they eat the big dog's food, well, it doesn't really work with their digestive systems, if you know what I mean. And I have to clean up after them, so yeah.
Okay, going to wrap this up on stories of misadventures with pets. Any last comments?
Nope, that was a good talk.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good night, everybody.
All right, good
Hello.
night.
Bye.
Love you all.